Through you, I'd like to apprise the honourable member that as far as the domestic sector is concerned, as he had mentioned what I had stated in my answer, to protect the interests of the passengers as well as to ensure that there is competition and no predatory pricing, we had instituted this system of airfare caps. As far as the international sector is concerned, that is not something that is in our power to do. However, I am very confident that with the opening up of the international sector, as we have announced on the 27th of March, when the summer schedule comes in of all airlines, there will be enough of a supply of seats, both coming into India and going out of India. And therefore, I think the pricing issue is something that the market will certainly take into account by itself.
Second supplementary.
Chairman, during the last 2 years of pandemic, thousands of employees from aviation sector have lost their jobs. Not only aviation sector, but ground handling employees also, the workers who work or come from the downtrodden society. They have also lost their jobs. And because of this, thousands of families, literally they are on road and they are pinning all hopes on the government. May I know from the Honourable Minister, is there any move? First of all, they should be, all those jobs who have been lost, they should be restored. And they are pinning hopes on the government. What exactly steps are being taken by the government to see that airlines, did they have talks with the airlines and made any attempt, or are they contemplating to have this kind of measure which would restore the jobs of the employees who have lost their jobs? Thank you.
Reply, please.
Madam, the member has rightly pointed out that the civil aviation sector should not be concentrated only necessarily on airlines and airports, but on the whole ecosystem. And the ecosystem, as the member has rightfully pointed out, includes ground handling, includes cargo, includes FTOs, flying training organizations, includes MROs. And as we have been seeing that this is a sector which has been affected very, very deeply on an economic front, globally. It is a sector which has been affected the most in terms of its economic output and in terms of its profitability. Having said that, it is also a sector which has bounced back with equal amount of growth as soon as COVID-1 wave and then COVID-2 wave and now COVID-3 wave have petered out. In the case of COVID-2, we had brought back this sector to 100% capacity on the 18th of October, and I am pleased to report to the House that pre-COVID, our maximum number of passengers in India per day were close to about 4 lakhs, and we reached a level of 3.83 lakh per day in the month of December. So we were very well on our way back to recovery, roughly about 5 or 6% off from pre-COVID levels. But then Omicron came along and we had wave 3. And again, I am pleased to report to the House today that as of yesterday's numbers, after going down to almost about 1,60,000 passengers a day in wave 3, from the pre-COVID level of 4 lakhs and post-COVID 2 level of 3.83 lakhs, we have yesterday reached the number of roughly about 3.8 lakh passengers per day. So we are looking at a resuscitance in this sector, and with that resuscitance, we are extremely hopeful that we will also see a rebound in terms of employment opportunities.
Dr. Shantanu Sen.
Kind attention of all.
Louder. Mike.
I would like to draw the kind attention of our learned minister to a ground reality that so far maintenance of COVID protocol at different airports is concerned. Passengers are being asked to show their COVID vaccination certificate at some airports. At some airports, they are being asked to show their COVID report of last 24 or 72 hours. And at some airports, they are being asked nothing. So there is a confusion amongst the general passengers. My request and my question before our learned minister is, why don't we bring an uniformity at all the airports of our country? Thank you very much.
Madam, through you, I'd like to apprise our learned member. It's a very important point that he has raised. As you're aware that these are decisions that are taken by two centers. One is the Health Ministry at the center, and secondly, the states. This is also a subject which is on the concurrent list, and therefore a diktat cannot be issued by us. An advisory can be issued, and then each state has its own power to decide what the rules need to be. As far as we are concerned, the Health Ministry at the center issued the advisory again on the 10th of February 2022, saying that either the passenger has two choices. Either you upload a COVID negative report from the past 72 hours onto the Air Suvidha portal, or you upload your double vaccination certificate onto the Air Suvidha portal, and that should suffice. Subject, of course, again, as I emphasize, to the state government protocols, because each state government must have that liberty to ensure what the rules should be for that particular state.
Shri G.K. Vasan.
That the Government of India has minimized or restricted flights due to the benefit of the passengers because of COVID-19. Good that it has given good results today. But now, sir, I would like to draw the attention of the respected Honorable Minister that it is time to reschedule flights again. For example,
Question,
my state,
please.
Tamil Nadu,
Vasanji,
coming to the
question.
point, ma'am.
You
For
have to be
example,
brief.
my state, Tamil Nadu, there are around 5 airports.
Vasanji,
Trichy is
you
a
will
very
have to be
important
brief
airport.
and only
There is
the
only one
question.
flight.
Vasanji, only the question.
There is
please.
only one flight in the morning and in the evening. Likewise, Madurai, Coimbatore, Thoothukudi, I request the Honorable Minister, rescheduling has to be done for the interest of the passengers after COVID-19, so that the economic position of the country definitely will improve because of the flight service.
I
This is the
request
need
all
of
the
our
members to be very, very precise so as to be able to accommodate maximum questions.
Madam, through you, I'd like to apprise the honourable member that certainly there is a great demand for greater connectivity across all major cities in India. I also do see in the near future civil aviation becoming the backbone of transportation across the country. And therefore, we also are looking at a high level of growth in this sector. The CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate of this sector pre-COVID, because obviously during COVID it went through the most difficult time in its history, is close to about 10.6% per year. However, as I mentioned, Madam, both the domestic sector, we have brought it back to 100% capacity on the 18th of October. Even through the third wave of COVID, we did not restrict capacity. So all airlines were free to operate at 100% capacity. And similarly, on the international sector, by the order issued last week, we have said that by the summer schedule, which starts on the 27th of March, international sector can also operate at 100% capacity. Now, it is for the free market to choose in terms of the routes, and it is our effort to make sure that we take greater connectivity, as you mentioned, Honourable Member, to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which is what we are endeavouring to do.
Shri Praful Patel.
The Honourable Minister is trying to see that all the flights are revived, and I've read his statements. At the end of the month, there will be no restriction and flights will go back to normal. I have only one important observation to make and maybe seek a response, is that the fuel prices, they have touched around $130. And we saw in 2008-9, when I was also that time in his position, the fuel prices had reached about $140, $145. And that caused a great deal of financial losses and hardship to all the airlines of India. Led to closure also subsequently of some airlines, because those losses were very huge. Today, the price of fuel around 130 and the rupee at 77 compared to 40, 45 then would have, and 40% of 45% of operating costs being fuel. I think it is time that the minister, he's trying very hard to reduce tax on ATF, which is levied by the center and the states. I wish that he takes this issue up very seriously, because if the fuel prices continue for a longer period than what it is today, at these levels, it could cause massive losses to airlines and probably even closure of many an airline. I hope he is aware of it and was taking some concrete positive action in this regard.
Honourable Minister to respond.
Madam, I'd like to thank the member for bringing up this issue in the House. He's absolutely right that fuel consists of not 45% but close to 37% of the cost structure of an airline. And in a sector which is going through a very high level of hemorrhaging losses, close to about 19,000 crores last year due to COVID, that also becomes the proportion of the revenue structure. And so therefore, at high fuel prices, which, if I may just point out, in 2020, prior to COVID, ATF was close to at about 21,000 rupees per kiloliter, which is today at 93,000 rupees per kiloliter. So fuel price itself has gone up close to 4.5 times. And therefore, this is a very, very key issue for us. I would like to thank the member for giving me the opportunity. But as soon as I took over in the month of July, and I'd also like to point out that the states charge VAT on ATF ranging from close to about 10% to 30% on this levels of fuel. And therefore, I took it upon myself to pursue with the states, to plead with the states, our case. The fact that we bring greater connectivity through airlines, the fact that we bring greater economic growth, and therefore, if you look at the Laffer curve example in economics, if you lower tax rates, you will actually increase buoyancy of revenues. And I'm very glad to report to this House that prior to my taking over, we had 11 states that charged VAT rates on ATF between 1 to 5%, and we had 25 states that charged VAT rates between 15 to 30%. That position today, and through you, Madam, I'd like to thank the Chief Ministers of all those states. We have reversed that equation. 12 states have reduced their level of VAT from 25 to 30% down to 1 to 4%. Passed cabinet meetings, issued gazette notifications, and today that equation has reversed. There are 23 states that charge VAT only between 1 to 4%, and only 11 states that charge. Madam, this needs a little bit of your time. I would like to take that liberty from you, because it's a very important point. Sure. And only 11 states that charge between 15 to 30%. This also calls about the confederacy of states, and I'd like to thank all the chief ministers of those states, large states like Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, hill states like Himachal, Uttarakhand, Haryana, our island states like Andaman and Nicobar. Many, many states have done that, and I'd like to thank those administration of those states through you. Thank you, Madam.
Question 122. Mr. John Britas.
22.
Madam, if I may just add one more thing. I'm pursuing with the state of Maharashtra as well. If you could use your good offices and help me, being the former civil aviation minister, I think that would go a long way.
Honourable Minister, this is not going on record. It's not going on record. It is not going on. 122.
Madam, the minister will certainly, former minister will
Kindly
certainly
lay the answer on the table. Okay.
Madam, a statement is laid on the table of the House.
Thank you. Supplementary, please.
Madam, today the chair has been very liberal to everybody, and I do expect Madam also to be little liberal to me, because this is my second maiden question.